Good afternoon, members of the press. Good afternoon to our distinguished platform guests. We are back here on this podium to continue to execute the function and duties of the Ministry of Information. And as always, we take pleasure in what we do because it is a calling, it is a duty that we honor to help manage government communication. And so it is always for us a pleasing duty and an honor to have the undivided attention of the Liberian public at this time on a bi-weekly basis, where we disseminate information about the Liberian state moving across the country vis-a-vis the political landscape of Liberia. The most topical issue nowadays is the fight against drugs. On August 7, we witnessed a conglomeration of gigantic proportion, citizens from across the country assembled in one accord to register their unanimous disapproval to something that poses a very dangerous threat to the survival of the future of our country. Too often we refer to the youth as the future leaders. And so, as a government, as a country, we can sit supinely with our hands folded and see a whole generation of the next ones who will lead our country being wiped away. So what did the president do? Having declared drug as a matter of national emergency, the president set up a multi-sectoral committee. This committee has been working over the last couple of months. The committee is multi-sectoral because it comprises of various entities of government. You were here the other day providing you updates on the report that was submitted to the president. Beyond the submission of that report, they have been working. Some of you reported that unprivileged youth involved with drug and substance abuse have been taken off the streets. It is the work of this committee. So to give the media and the Liberian public a fair appreciation of the work that the committee is doing, we've invited them. This committee is chaired by the Ministry of Health, it is the National Drug and Substance Abuse Emergency Task Force. It's chaired by the Ministry of Health, and accordingly we have here Anthony Malaya Tamachio. He's the Deputy Minister for Policy Planning at the Ministry of Health. As a matter of fact, Here's the IT minister. And of course, it's accompanied by three distinguished individuals. Dr. Joel Tapet-Colley, County Health Officer of Montserrat County. Better still, you can see the Montserrat County Health Team. Also seated on the high table is Honorable Larima Sheken Yonton, Deputy Minister of Ministry of Women's Sports. And we have our dear friend and brother, Mr. Boy Cooper from the LRRC. The committee will speak to you. We'll quiz them after the presentation about everything you want to know about what is ongoing, the activities of the committee and everything. That's why they came prepared. Medical program top plenty. So the IT minister will make the introduction. He will lay the basis for the presentation. Dr. Tapet-Colley will provide detailed information on the workings of the task force. Of course, Mr. Larima Yonton and Mr. Cooper will give supporting details on some of the undertakings of the task force. So that's where we are. We also have a group headed by we also have Ms. Ringjun Yutua. She's here to officially announce the commencement of the second edition of the Mixed University of Liberia Beauty Pageant. We all know that the National Tourism Authority is ongoing the transitional process for the formation. The legislature ITED, the president has constituted a board accordingly. But why the Tourism Bureau is still housed here at the Ministry of Information, we'll continue to highlight activities that seeks to promote the tourism industry, the tourism and entertainment industry of our country. So that group is here. They will also speak to you. And then we will jointly entertain questions and then take answers from the speakers. But as always, we have to clear the decks of the Ministry of Information. There are some very interesting developments other than what the speakers here will present on that are taking place across the country. And we realize that the judiciary is one branch of government that has been plagued with allegation of corruption. I say allegation, I didn't even say corruption. Allegation of corruption. Too often people accuse the judiciary of being corrupt. Ain't no God. As a government and as leaders in the various sectors, what is in our purview is to take steps and address these inadequacies. So the current Chief Justice is Honorable Yami Kwekwe Bese, has hit the ground running in order to maintain the integrity of the judiciary. He wants to identify ghost employees, misplaced judicial workers, and ensure that those in the employ of the judiciary have requisite academic qualification. He has launched the Judicial Employees Verification and Credential Audit. It's a step in the right direction. Now, some of you who have your platform, you listen to the radio station every morning, and everybody will talk about the politics of the country. Everybody knows everything. You need to take up time to follow what the Chief Justice is doing here. There are people within the judiciary who are accused or believed not to be qualified. And the Chief Justice answered all of that. All of these years of allegation, public scrutiny, stereotypical perception can only be addressed by a verified credential and personnel audit. So the exercise is led by the Civil Service Agency, starting with judicial workers within Montserrat County, including judges, magistrate, clerical staff, sheriff, and more others. So some of the people who have always been accused, they say, oh, the sheriff, the court people corrupt, they're not qualified. This audit is meant to put round square in round holes and square pegs in square holes. What are the reasons for the exercise? The primary goal is to eliminate ghost workers, individuals on the payroll who do not actually work, and non-existent employees who are receiving salaries from the government. The next goal or objective of the exercise is to address financial irregularities. The audit aims to identify instances where salaries were being paid to bank accounts not linked to names of employees. The exercise is also intended to increase transparency within the judiciary. The exercise is expected to bring greater transparency and accountability to the judicial payroll system. Courts to be audited include the West Point Magisterial Court, Painesville Magisterial Court, MICAT, Carisburg, Bensonville, and Tody Magisterial Courts. Others include the Gannonville Magisterial Court, Bourgeois Island, Druryville, Artington Magisterial Court. The audit marks a significant steps towards institutional reform and capacity building within Liberia judiciary, signaling the new Chief Justice's commitment to professionalize the integrity and public trust in the rule of law. So that is it. The CSA boss, Honorable Jokar, did similar thing to the spending entities across government, and a lot of things were realized. Some of the people who have become regular talk show hosts and loud critics of the government, they were on payroll, not going to work. And when the exercise identified them, they were booted out of the payroll. Today, they are running on talk show. They have become overnight political commentators and talking rubbish. We will continue to take steps to improve the system across the government. And if you are a Liberian citizen whose family member, one way or other, have been victimized by corruption, and you don't appreciate the kind of things, something is wrong with you. So while we have the multi-sectoral task force here, the president took a very important step, which, to the best of our understanding, further indicates his commitment and zero tolerance stance on drug and substance in the Liberian society. I've always said that the president has the appointing power, but the president cannot be everywhere at the same time. If you are a Liberian citizen and the president gave you or designated you to serve in a particular position and you don't take it seriously, the president has the authority to dismiss you, as he has done in many cases. And so we woke up to the news that the president has dismissed top officials from the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency for administrative reasons. President also acted swiftly to appoint an interim management team. Now there are others who say, oh, he said that the president cannot find people who are capable of doing the job. But none of you here will question the ability, the capacity of the first group that the president appointed him. Of course, we all know that Abraham Kuman, my own professor from the university, is a seasoned criminal justice practitioner. It's a law enforcement practitioner, par excellence, trained with multiple credentials from one of the renowned criminal justice institutions in the world, John Jay College. No, so nobody should doubt the ability. Nobody would doubt his ability. Bauko, Fadiga. Their leadership was racked by internal fighting. President intervened, dismissing them for the interim leadership, and then again appointed a new group of people. What have they done? In the wisdom of the president, these people are dismissed for administrative reasons. And so it's a good thing that we all now talk about the fight against drug and dangerous substances in our communities, and the community is involved, something which is even making the fight more easier. You can't have those who are leading the fight, or supposed to be leading the fight, themselves undermining the collective goal of the government to eradicate drugs from our country. And so the president has dismissed them. They include Director General Mr. Anthony K. Saul, Deputy Director General for Administration Mr. B. K. Popar, and the Deputy Director General for Operations Mr. Sebastian Fa. The president has at the same time appointed an interim management team to steer the affairs of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, pending further actions and the appointment of a new management team. The interim team comprises of Deputy Commissioner of Police Fitzgerald T.M. Biago of the Liberia National Police. He will serve as Officer in Charge, ORC, Mr. Ernest T. Tape, Assistant Director for Special Services, National Security Agency. He will serve as the Deputy for Administration and Investigation. Assistant Commissioner of Police Patrick B. Komazu of the Liberia National Police has been designated to serve as Deputy Director General for Operations. The release further indicates that the interim management team will regularly report to the Ministry of Justice, who in turn will keep the president fully updated on the operations and performance of the LDA. President Bouaga expressed confidence that the officials seconded to the interim management team will demonstrate professionalism, diligence, commitment, and integrity in the execution of their duties. The president further emphasized that this decisive action is intended to strengthen Liberia's collective resolve in eradicating the scourge of illicit drugs and substances in the country. The action, the president stressed, is aimed at strengthening our collective resolve. The president urged the team to redouble efforts in preventing the flow of illicit drugs, combating drug trafficking and distribution, and dismantling drug network across the country. He further noted that drug and substance abuse pose existential threats to Liberia's future, especially the young people. The President has also mandated the Minister of Justice to conduct a comprehensive review of the structure, function, and operations of the LDA and submit a report accompanied by recommendations within 90 days. We announced here on Tuesday that 2 law enforcement officers who were recruited to the Liberia National Police in 2023 were undergoing investigation for acts unbecoming of a police officer. That investigation has concluded. Then the LNP has informed us, or has announced, the dismissal of the 2 officers. They include Patrolman Aaron T. Caesar and Stephen B. Wanawon. Their dismissal with immediate effect from the Police Support Unit, the PSU. Of course, the decision follows an internal investigation that confirmed that the officer committed criminal misconduct, abuse of authority, and other unsatisfactory conduct. The investigation was carried out by the Professional Standard Division of the LNP and found the officer to be in violation of the LNP rules on discipline and professional standards as outlined in the Discipline Regulations of 2016. In line with its commitment to integrity and accountability, the LNP has removed the officer from active duty and handed them over to the Crown Services Department for further investigation and possible prosecution. The LNP reaffirms its mission to serve the public with professionalism, neutrality, and respect for human rights. The police emphasize that disciplinary actions like these are vital to maintaining high standards and restoring public trust in law enforcement entities. The Minister of Information, my boss, announced here on Tuesday what are some of the outcomes of the things that Liberia stands to realize or benefit from the participation in the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. In addition to what was released by the Minister, on Tuesday, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has released additional details based on feedback that they have gotten from our Japanese counterpart as outcome for Liberia's participation in the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development. Economic growth and investment. Infrastructure partnership. Japan and Liberia agreed to prioritize feasibility study for the Rabas International Airport Corridor and the rehabilitation of key farm-to-market routes to unlock regional trade. Port modernization. Liberia has been included in a new Japan-Africa Economic Partnership Study Group, ensuring technical support for modernization of the free port of Monrovia and improve port logistics around the country. Industrial cooperation. Through the Japan-Africa Co-creation for Industry Initiative, Liberia will benefit from matchmaking between Liberian startup and Japanese companies, with emphasis on ICT, agribusiness, and clean energy solutions. Financing assets. Liberia stands to benefit from the expanded, enhanced private sector assistance for Africa, $5.5 billion, and Japan's US $5.5 billion, and Japan's $1.5 billion Impact Investment Fund, reducing risks for Japanese investors in Liberia's energy and agro markets. The government of Japan has expressed interest in partnering with Liberia on coastal and sea defense initiatives, recognizing Liberia's vulnerability to rising sea levels and coastal erosion, drawing on its extensive experience in constructing artificial islands and implementing advanced coastal protection measures. Japan proposed closer collaboration with Liberia to address pressing challenges in sea and defense and waste management, agriculture and food security, rice and stable crops. Liberia will participate in a pilot cooperation on climate-resilient rice varieties with trials in Lofa and Bon counties. Agri-food system. Liberia is positioned to tap into TICAD's agricultural package, including access to Japanese irrigation technologies and post-harvest value chain to reduce food inputs. Human capital development, youth training. At least 500 Liberian youth and professionals will benefit from Japan's plan to skill 300,000 Africans in AR, biotechnology, and green economy feeds over the next 3 years. Scholarship and exchanges. Liberia secured new scholarships under the ABE initiatives and Africa Youth Program 2025, enabling students to study in Japan in STEM, public health, and governance. So it's a long list of initiatives I show is already being circulated in the media. But I just want to talk about additional gains, funding proposal under review, like the minister indicated, a concept drawn from this assessment from the government that was submitted to the people of Japan, the government of Japan at the conference. It's under consideration for funding proposal submitted by the government of Liberia to Japan, amounting to 72 million USD, and covering priorities in infrastructure, health, education, and agriculture. This plan is currently under consideration. These projects are also the subject of discussions, were also subject of discussion during the meeting at the TICA implementation mechanism. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs will establish a TICA 9 implementation desk to track commitments and provide quarterly updates to the public. The transformation that is happening across all sectors in the country, in the government, is something that is deeply rooted in our commitment as a government to take on the challenges that we inherited and provide solutions to those challenges. One of the entities that will heavily challenge the Liberia National Fire Service. Upon assuming office, the Liberia National Fire Service was faced with critical capacity constraints operating with a single functional fire truck. However, under this new administration, with support from the government of Liberia, the Liberia National Fire Service has expanded its fleets, built capacities, and the current status of the entity includes they can boast of bigger fleets and equipment upgrades, 14 fire trucks, 4 pickups, 2 sedans, 1 ambulance, 1 bus for the employees, 3 new water tankers, 2 new fire jeeps, 10 motorcycles, and 2 sets of uniforms and accessories for every firefighter. Not only what they are doing at the central office here, on a regional basis, they are prepared to respond to fire incidents. So regional deployment and readiness. For the Grand Bassa County Fire Detachment, 1 fire truck. Nima County, 1 fire truck. Magibi County, 1 fire truck. An operational deployment plan is in progress to extend fire truck deployment to additional counties within the service area. Lastly, before I invite the folks from the multi-sectoral committee, let me recognize the arrival of our distinguished Minister, Honorable Jeremy Pia. We followed statement attributed to one Creighton Duncan, the man who's supposed to be the senator, one of the senators of Sando County, to the effect that the president, His Excellency Ambassador Bwaka, is a weak old man who barely walks, and that his government has failed the country. As a government, we are open to criticism, we are very tolerant. But one thing we cannot do is allow such madness as were expressed by somebody who's supposed to be a senator to go responded to. We are reminded that the person who is making this statement remains a strong supporter of the former ruling party. And so, let me say to him, President Bwaka is traveling the length and breadth of this country via road. He flies over 30 or more hours fighting for Liberia. Mr. Duncan, who is the so-called young man, is in political obscurity. He's hardly visible. He looks faint and exhausted. On the question about failure, I want to remind this individual that apparently he doesn't know what failure is. He doesn't know what failure is. Just a few months ago, when Mr. Duncan and his political demagogues presided over the looting of the Liberian cover, they were using helicopter to go to the southeast. They were passing through Ivory Coast. Interestingly so, Mr. Duncan is from the southeast. One of those counties that were deeply affected by the terrible road condition that the country faced under the leadership of the people he considered to be political demagogues. Today, President Bwaka has made going to that region of the country very accessible. And people like Peter Domi arrive on the road. They are taking 6 hours from here to the southeast. Yet he comes up to say that the president has failed the country. Then, I will not go back to question the mental stability of the senator. Something is wrong with you. Something terrible must be wrong with you. When you can now ride from here to Grand Gillette to Sando and come back the same day, under this administration, something that never happened. Even from the day that he and the former governor were milking the central bank of Liberia, we know what happened there. The southeastern corridor was inaccessible. Today, he can ride in his SUV, go home. I'm not too sure he's been home. He stays in Monrovia, enjoying the comfort of the position that he served. It is unacceptable for spineless and unprincipled individuals. This man who is not the room of a travel bigot, he jumps, he's a party hopper, jumps from one party to another. It's unfortunate. So the senator got to be careful. Unlike him, who were among people who were praying that, oh, President Boga would die immediately after the election. He was among those people. We were not wishing death. We pray that a so-called young leader who has failed to show leadership in his capacity, he does not die before the end of the tenure of the hard-working and productive leadership of President Boga. This brings me to the point to even question the senator's upbringing. Somebody who was read properly, not address a statesman, as the senator has done. And so we are hoping that he can take notes, as I said from the beginning, that we are open to criticism, but we cannot allow such madness to go unnoticed. And that's why we're responding to him. We are also taking notice of acts of lawlessness by some elements of the CDC. Trespassing on a private property when you are already being evicted by the court is an act of deliberate provocation. That place no longer belongs to the CDC. The court of this country, the law has ruled that Mr. Stubberfield should take possession of the property. The court has gone to evict you. Why are you going there? You already say party office is that important, your party is in your heart. Why are you going there taking leave and chanting and all kind of thing? Why do you want to provoke somebody? Because if the owners of the property engage them and then a scuffle ensued, it becomes a problem. And I can understand where they are heading, because these are people who only survive in crisis. So we are hoping that the leadership of the displaced party can take note of these acts of deliberate provocation and the behavior of lawlessness. They cannot continue to take steps to undermine the peace, stability, and severity of the country. On that note, I will now pause to invite the acting Minister of Health, Honorable Malaya Tamachio, who will make initial comments, and then he will be further supported by members of his team.
Honorable Minister Pia, Minister of Information, Daniel Sando, Honorable Daniel Sando, and other colleagues from the Ministry of Information, Culture, and Tourism, my fellow colleagues from the multi-sectoral committee on drug and substance abuse, members of the press, fellow Liberians far and near, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. As I have been introduced earlier, I am Anthony Malaya Tamachio, Deputy Minister for Policy, Planning, and MAE at the Ministry of Health. Currently, I am here in the capacity of Acting Minister of the Ministry of Health. Reason being, the Minister, Dr. Louis M. Otto, is making representation at the World Health Organization in Zambia. The President, His Excellency Joseph Imabwaga, has recognized the issue of substance abuse as a national health emergency. On that basis, His Excellency the President established the multi-sectorial committee on drug and substance abuse. Sin being a committee to address this national health emergency, the Ministry of Health was appointed to chair the committee. Other ministries and agencies include the Ministry of Youth and Sports, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Gender, the Ministry of Education, the Liberia Drugs Enforcement Agency, and the list goes on. Recently, the LRRC, given the significant role they are playing in the most recent occurrences on this issue of drugs and substance abuse, they have formed part of the technical working group, and that their role is something that we recognize. On the basis of this, I'm pleased to introduce to you my colleague, the County Health Officer, Mosorado County. And as you all know, given the location and the demography of Mosorado County is often that county that is more affected, whether positive or negative, in terms of everything that happens in our country. So we have brought along with ourselves Dr. Tape Colley, who will give you more detail on our activities with respect to drugs and substance abuse. Dr. Tape, you are most welcome.
My own boss, Deputy Minister for Community Policy and Research, Ministry of Health. Yes. Thank you. Members of the Multi-Sectoral Committee on Drugs and Substance Abuse, Minister and Management Team of the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism, our local and international partners, other stakeholders, members of the civil society organization, members of the Fourth Estate, our listening audience, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. As we battle the exploding epidemic of drugs and substance abuse in Liberia, the Ministry of Health, being the chair of the multi-sectoral committee established by His Excellency President Joseph Imabwaga, the Ministry of Health, under the leadership of Dr. Louis Makle-Koto, the committee has been working tirelessly, aggressively, to put in strategies and policies that will help combat what we consider a national emergency in Liberia. So just a quick update on what are some of the activities of the committee. The committee currently, or recently, held a 2-day working session where the anti-drug action plan was finalized to be validated and disseminated to the public. And that action plan, you will get to know the details very soon. It covers supply of drug, how do we reduce the demand for drug, and also how do we also reduce the supply. Also, the committee have been working tirelessly, collaborating with other private facilities, those that are also in rehabilitation, collaborating with them because the issue of drug is everybody's business. And more besides, we have a growing population of drug users, and what we have currently cannot accommodate everybody. So the committee is currently working with other private partners that are into rehabilitation of drugs. The committee also held a 1-day working session where we commissioners, city mayors were invited, and it was a 1-day working session where we discussed different strategies on how we can combat the issue of drugs in Liberia. And in that working section, another committee was established because we had to decentralize everything and looking at how the community, the important role of the community. Another committee was established, and that committee is called the Anti-Drug Action Team at the community level. And it's a 15-man committee at the community level, and every community in Liberia is represented on that committee. And then we have members of the local government, we have civil society, NGO, we also have the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, the Liberia National Police, and other stakeholders part of that committee. And their roles, their term of reference were clearly defined and was also published to the public to see. Currently now, the committee, the multi-sectoral committee is also working on rehabilitating our disadvantaged youth. And currently, we have right now a temporary holding center where they are at the LCPRC compound in the Johnsonville area. We say temporary because the issue of rehabilitation is a process. It's not overnight, it's a process. And we cannot force anybody to be rehabilitated. First and foremost, you have to be counseled. And aside from counseling, you have to accept and be willing, because it's an entire process. And then we can discuss step by step what are some of the things. So they are there temporarily, and then the LCPRC, when they give me an update, they will give you the exact numbers. But the number fluctuates because some day you see some people, the next day they leave. The number is actually fluctuating. But currently, as of yesterday, this morning, there are 115 new accounts for 105 new accounts currently. And they are we have different health protocols that they are undergoing, because the issue of drugs, we have something called detoxification, because once they are abstaining from drugs and other harmful substances, they come down with some symptoms, some withdrawal symptoms that they are currently being treated for currently at the temporary rehabilitation center. So the committee is also working on a permanent site where our youth who are willing to be rehabilitated can be taken to for a full recovery process. Currently, the Ministry of Health is partnering with the Ministry of Health is currently partnering with Lady of Light. We have two services. We have the inpatient and the outpatient. So we've had over 600 disadvantaged youth that have been in the program. Some of them with mild to moderate symptoms. They have been treated on an outpatient basis where they come, they be treated and they go home. For those ones with severe symptoms,